Hello lovelies, I'm Christina and today I am giving you my December wrap-up. So for the last month of 2016, I read some pretty amazing books that I really enjoyed, and the first one was one that I listened to on Audible, and that was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. Empire of Storms is the latest release in the Throne of Glass series. As most of you probably know, I really enjoy the series. I really enjoy listening to it on Audible, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I just think this series just gets better and better, and I really love Elena as a character. And yeah, highly recommend the series if you haven't touched upon it yet. The second book I read in the month of December was Krampus the Yule Lord by Brom. This one I have a separate review of that I will link up here, so you can go check that out if you want to. This is the story of Krampus, who wants to take out revenge on Santa Claus because he thinks he is the true spirit of Christmas or of Yuletide, and he wants to take Santa Claus down. And into this, a musician called Jesse gets involved, and a whole lot of crazy goes on. But it was a truly fun ride. I love this book. It was beautifully written and so much darkness and fun, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Kafka's Metamorphosis, and this one I read together with Skottie. I will link Kottie's channel down below. Metamorphosis is a book that I've been wanting to get to for a long time. I've heard such great reviews of it, and it is considered a classic. It's a story about a man who wakes up one morning and he has turned into a bug, and it's just the story of how he reacts to this and kind of adapts to it, and as well as the problems with his family. And I could really see where Kafka was going with this. I could really understand what he was trying to do with the story. I just felt that it was a bit too much, a bit forced, and it just wasn't really my kind of book. It was entertaining enough, but I just think that it doesn't really deserve the hype that it's gotten. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people love this book, but for me, it just didn't live up to the hype for me. Sorry. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, entertaining enough, but it could have been so much better. Now, the next book I read was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This one was definitely one of my favorites of last year. It is about a man called Jason. Jason gets abducted by a man who, the last thing he remembers before he gets knocked unconscious is, "Are you happy in your life?" And when he wakes up, he's in a gurney surrounded by people he don't know in hazmat suits, and they are welcoming him back. And everything in the life that he wakes up to is different from the life that he remembers. So his wife is not his wife anymore, they don't have kids, and everything is just changed. So he then goes through this thing where he's not really sure if he's crazy, if what he remembers is real or not, if the world that he finds himself in is real or not. And it was just such an interesting ride, a really good science fiction book. It was just a really interesting book that touched on some really, really interesting subjects. And if you like science fiction that is also dark and very mysterious and thrilling, this is definitely a good pick, and I highly recommend it. It ended up being one of my absolute favorites of 2016, and of course I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. Now, the last thing I read in December was a graphic novel, and that was the second volume of I Hate Fairyland. This one is called Slut My Life. I raved about the first volume that I discovered via Elena at Elena Reads channel, and I loved that one, and I was so super excited to find this in a Norwegian comic book store here, so I had to pick it up. Unfortunately, it didn't live up to the first volume, but it was pretty close. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, and it literally had me laughing out loud while I was reading it at home alone. So it did that to me, and not a lot of comics do that. So it still was pretty close to a 5-star, but not as good as the first one. But I'm still looking forward to seeing where the story goes next. I mean, Gertrude is just an amazing character. As I told in my wrap-up with the first volume, it is the story of Gertrude who falls into Fairyland and can't get out. And even though she gets older, her body doesn't age, but she becomes this really bitter, obnoxious person, and it is so much darkness and violence, and it is just gory and fantastic. Highly recommend it. So there you have it. Those are the books that I read in the month of December, the last month of 2016. I totally forgot to wish you a happy new year, so happy new year. It's gonna be an amazing year. 2017 has come off to a very interesting start for me, but I will talk more about that later on. I am planning on trying to do weekly vlogs now, so we'll see how that goes. I haven't really gotten into it yet, but I think I'm gonna start off with it from about next week, so yes. Now I'm all dolled up. I'm gonna go and watch the Jason Mraz concert here in Oslo. I watched him about 8 years ago when he played here last time, and also about 3 years ago when he played in London, and I've been very impatiently waiting for him to come back to Oslo, and he finally has, so I'm super excited. And yes, so I have to get going. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video soon. Goodbye!